All righty, Drew. So Melvin Gordon returned to Broncos practice on Monday. He has been nursing a foot injury that kept him out the last week of camp. Now, a lot of people obviously want to give it to the young guy, Javonte, a very exciting, dynamic sophomore running back. But Melvin Gordon, even though he was getting a little bit written off, still had an excellent 2021 season, especially with the value that he was going at. In 2021, he had 203 attempts, 918 rushing yards, 4.5 yards per carry, and 8 touchdowns. The interesting thing, and we talked about it a little bit, is it was very close to the rookie, Javonte Williams. 203 attempts for him, so literally the same amount of attempts, 903 yards, and 4 rushing touchdowns. So half the touchdowns. So Melvin definitely had better touchdown luck last year. There's been some changes for the Broncos. They have a new coach, so a different regime. How do you think this is going to break down going into this year? Do you think that Javonte will truly take over? Or do you think this will literally be what it was last year, a 50-50 share?
So the other huge addition there is Russell Wilson. I think that will definitely make a difference in the offense. Will it make a difference in their split? I don't know. Melvin Gordon, though, recently said that the coaches in Denver are trying to make Javonte Williams the guy. Melvin Gordon has always been one to shoot straight with the media, and I believe him on this. I think Javonte Williams will probably get at least 60% this year, just going into his second year. I think that's a reasonable progression for him, maybe even 65%. But we'll see. I mean, I think that Javonte Williams is the guy to own for sure. I think he's the higher talent at this point. Melvin Gordon's still a good back. And will be useful for fantasy football, but maybe as a flex, not an RB2 level player.
Age 29, so he's not quite at that 30 mark that we just completely dismiss all running backs when it comes to the actual game, the NFL game, or certainly fantasy football.
For everyone not named Frank Gore.
For everyone not named Frank Gore. But when you have a guy, age 22, was one of the most elusive running backs out of North Carolina and had a reputation for breaking tackles. I believe Javonte Williams led last season in broken tackles. Obviously, people are going to be excited. People do want to see him take that next progression because it's these type of guys that turn into Jonathan Taylors, right? That turn into guys that are dominating the league, taking the league by storm, and that you can't see enough of. But if you're the Broncos, I think that while you have both these guys in your locker room, it is wise to use their skill sets to the best of their abilities, because obviously Melvin Gordon, like I said, he still has showed moments of quickness last year. He still showed that a level of toughness in his running style, going back to his time with the Chargers when he first came in. He still had that explosiveness, which I think a lot of people going into the 2021 season just thought he lost because he just didn't seem as explosive. I think he kind of got a little bit more marred with injuries over the prior 2 years. The last year was a nice little renaissance to remind everyone that he still existed. He's still a good running back in his own right. Coming into the year, the ADPs, how they're kind of breaking down. So overall, Javonte is going at pick 15 in standard leagues, and he is going at pick 21 in PPR. So decent back end second round if we're talking about a 12-team league. Melvin, I think Melvin you'll probably get at a better value. So overall in standard leagues is going at pick 98, and in PPR also 98. So when I tell you the ADPs, both of these guys in your mind draftable?
I think both of them are very draftable. I think those are both pretty good values for those guys, just for what you could get out of them. I think if either one of them happened to get hurt, the other one would be a great player for your team.
So what do you think is a realistic expectation for Melvin Gordon this year?
I think for Melvin Gordon, you're looking at a flex player, somebody who's might be in and out of your lineup, the guy you question whether you want to start him each week.
And when it comes to Javonte, knowing that Melvin is there, do we temper expectations or do we just write him in Sharpie as a running back one?
He may end up borderline one, borderline RB2, but I think his ceiling is much higher. I think having Melvin Gordon there, a very talented running back taking 30, 35% of the plays, is only going to help him stay fresh, stay healthy. I think that's honestly a good thing for Javonte Williams owners.
Do you think that maybe we'll start to see, and I know it's a fluky stat, but do you think we'll start to see the touchdowns lean more towards Javonte as opposed to Melvin?
I don't know that. I do know that Melvin Gordon has always been a pretty good goal line back. So if the Broncos are going to use their running backs towards their talent, I think that's a good play to use Melvin Gordon more at the goal line. It may even out, but I still think that Melvin Gordon is going to get his share of scores.
And what about Russ? Obviously, you mentioned Russ's addition to the offense, and there was good running back play in Seattle. Obviously, you go back to the Beastquake. Chris Carson had his moments as a fantasy superstar. Going to Denver, there's obviously the belief that let Russ cook will continue to head into let's ride Denver. What do you think? Do you think that has an impact on the backs? Do you think it's a positive impact?
I think the offense as a whole is going to score more points. So I think that will help. They may have more touchdowns go to the receivers, but there'll still be plenty going to the running backs. The one thing that does scare me a little bit is that Russell Wilson might steal a few of those touchdown runs.
Potentially. He's not as elusive as he was back in the day. You don't see as many goal line scrambles, although he does have that in his back pocket. If we go back to Russ a couple years ago, last year's Russ, not so much. Looked a little bit slow, wasn't as quick on his feet. First year dealing with injury. A lot of obviously people are high on the Broncos coming into this year, so we'll see if it holds up. Anyway, guys, drop below in the comments. Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon, is that still someone that you're targeting in drafts and you're comfortable taking as your running back 3, maybe a running back 4 if you're lucky? Leave a like on this video from Juju Talk Sports and Drew Homan. Stay safe, happy, and healthy. We'll see you on the next one.